In this video, I want to talk about the law of attraction and specifically how you can use it in your life without needing to believe in something that doesn't necessarily feel true for you. So I should say up front that if you do believe in the kind of the metaphysical or the mystical story behind the law of attraction or The Secret, like, more power to you. I think that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. I just had a hard time with it, and I wanted to make a video that could kind of bridge the gap for people so that they could start to experience the results without having to kind of compromise their own sense of authenticity in the world, and which really means that they would be less likely to do the practice to get the results. So I want to take the metaphysics out of it completely, and I'm going to do that. But first, I want to kind of talk through, if you haven't heard of the law of attraction, just kind of the broad strokes. So the basic idea is that there's kind of a three-part formula to getting whatever you want in the world, and it all has to do with your thoughts. And so basically the formula is: step one, your work. You have to kind of desire something, truly desire it, and blast off what they call like a rocket of desire. Step two is the universe's work or God's work or whatever you want to call it, and that is where a kind of the fulfillment of that desire comes back to you necessarily because of the vibration. And then step three, that's your work, and this is where most of us get hung up. You have to actually allow that thing into your life so that you can actually experience it, right? And all of this came about from this couple, Jerry and Esther Hicks, back in, I think it was the 70s, started meditating. And Esther started to channel this entity called Abraham, that called itself Abraham. And Jerry would ask Abraham questions, and Abraham would answer through Esther, and then Jerry would write down the answers. And they wrote a book about that, and then had a very successful speaking career. And anyway, so that was a difficult story for me to kind of swallow. And yet, so many people swear that the great results that they get in their lives are because of the law of attraction. And I too now would swear that there are so many good things that come from practicing the law of attraction. But I wanted to come up with a way to kind of bring it to the real world and not root it in some metaphysical explanation of how things are happening, or some mysticism, basically. And so I want to talk about kind of two ways that the law of attraction can work with purely psychological or kind of physics-based kind of solutions. So the fundamental practice of the law of attraction is going to be that you're going to close your eyes and imagine the world in which your desire is fulfilled. So, how would you feel? What are your thoughts at that time? How do you experience the world? Kind of, what is your kind of story, and how do you relate to the things that are around you, and who else is in your life? And really kind of spending some time kind of building a web of really what that feeling looks like. And the way they position it in the books is that by doing that, you're really raising your vibration such that you'll kind of pull in the fulfillment of your desire. But in a non-physical or in a non-metaphysical way, right? You could imagine that while you're closing your eyes and doing all this imagining of that future state, you're really becoming more acquainted with the path to get to that thing, right? So if you wanted to think about learning drums, for instance, by just doing this exercise, you might start to ask yourself questions like, well, how would I sit at the drum set? Or, I would obviously know how to set up my drum kit, and now that maybe that's the first time you've ever thought that a drummer needs to set up their drum set. Or, you would understand how to think about songs as a drummer does, right? And so all of these things are kind of showing you the path in a very interesting and real, concrete way, right? And so that is part of it, I think. One reason why the law of attraction really works is because it enables you to more clearly delineate your path to success. The other is where things get kind of cool, because you're using a psychological trick almost when you're doing this. So there's this principle called confirmation bias. It is one of our cognitive biases, which means that it's kind of almost a glitch in how our brains work, such that they will reliably kind of misrepresent the world. And this is the principle that's at play when you want a new car, and you're thinking about one particular car, and then you start to see that car everywhere. That's the example everyone always gives. Another example that you can play out with yourself right now is if I were to ask you to look around your room and notice anything that's red, because there's going to be a test. Look around right now. Notice all the red things. Close your eyes, and now remember everything that's blue. And so the reason that might be difficult, if you were playing this for the first time, a lot of people have heard this before, but if that was difficult for you, it's because the first time you were really taking the time to notice red things, right? And so confirmation bias let you kind of pull up the things that you were looking for, but not other things. And so the way that this applies to the law of attraction is, if you're spending that time and you're thinking about that thing, if for no other reason, you're going to be more likely to get that thing, because you are going to notice opportunities that show up in your life that will be along that path that you've spent all this time thinking about. You're going to really be primed to recognize things that bring you closer to your desire than you were before. This, I think, is not magic, but it's pretty close. I mean, I think that's pretty cool that we can actually use repetitive thinking to bring certain paths to our awareness and our attention in life. And so this is why I think kind of positive visualization works. This is why I think sort of affirmations work. And really, there are a lot of different ways that you can use the power of your thoughts to get what you want in life. And I just kind of want to take some time to explain why that could be, so that you could practice it without feeling like you're being a little woo-woo about things, okay? So I hope this helps. If you wanted to share something, because you've probably used this principle in your life, getting really focused on something and an outcome to actually achieve an outcome before. So if you've ever had that happen, please post that in the comments. I'd love to see it. If you have any questions about how this works or any challenges, I'd love to hear those too. And if you liked the video, please subscribe, because there's more where that came from. Thanks.